Hello and welcome to another video from Soflex Math. Today's lesson is on place value, and place value really is the foundation of our number system. So whether you're learning in first grade all the way up through high school, you really need to know place value. So today we're working specifically with place values in the whole numbers. Our next video will deal more with the decimals. So we have a number in blue here, 6,317,524. So those are all whole numbers. Notice there's no decimal or decimal place values. And down below in yellow, I've also indicated each of the place values with numbers rather than words. So when we look over here, so the ones, for example, you could write out the word one, O-N-E, but I'm just going to represent it with the number and the apostrophe S, and I'll show you why in a second. And then we have the tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s, and even up into millions. So we're going to work from right to left here. So as we look at our number, the ones column, we have a number of, that's very, very simple. It's just the number 4. So right next to this, we're just going to write down the number 4. Easy enough. As we move left, we work on our place values, ones and tens. So the 2 is in the tens column. So I'm going to simply put a 2 down. Now what I want you to realize, though, is the value of the 2. That is the important part about place value. Almost everyone can memorize ones, tens, hundreds, but then we kind of forget what that 2 actually means. So in this case, the 2 is in the tens column, so it's going to actually have a value of 20. So what do I really have? I have 2 tens. So 2 tens equals 20. Also, as we go, we'll follow the pattern here. So you notice I have 1 0 in tens. We have 1 0 in our 20s, or whatever number happens to be there. So as we follow the pattern here, we have a 5 in the hundreds. So we'll put down a 5 in the hundreds. And as we just said, 5 in the hundreds would be 500. So notice the pattern here. 2 zeros, 2 zeros, 1 0, 1 0, no zeros, no zeros. Now, as we move over to thousands, we're going to work a little bit backwards here. So I'm actually going to draw my 3 zeros first because I know that it's in the thousands place value. So the number in the thousands is 7. So working backwards, we put down our 7, but we know that it's actually 7,000. Okay, we have a 1 in the 10,000s, so our 10,000s is going to look exactly the same here, just coincidentally. So there you go with 10,000. 100,000s, we have the number 3. So once again, we'll write down our 3. And we have 5 zeros, which means we have to match that up. So we're also going to have 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with 3. And then our millions, in this case, is going to be, we have the number 6. So we're going to have 6 million with 6 zeros. So please take a moment and just kind of look at the pattern we have going on here. So once again, tens, 1 0, 1 0, 2 zeros, 2 zeros, and so on as you work your way through that. So we will try another example. Okay, this time we have a new number, 8,357,214. So we're going to kind of do the same thing. We'll go a little bit out of order just to kind of mix it up. Once again, I'll pause in between each answer to kind of let you take a guess at it, and then you'll be able to see our whatever the actual answer is. So for example, if you look at the number 2 in that number 8,357,214, think about what place value it is. So it's going to have a name. And then also think about what the value is. So in this case, we're looking at the number 2. So the 2 is going to have the value of 200, which means our place value is going to be 100 or hundreds place value. All right, and this time let's take a look at the 5. So the 5 in this number, in this particular example, the 5 is actually worth 50,000. Okay, And then this one, the place value is going to be called 10 thousandths. Thousands. Okay. And then you can obviously, we can go through each one of the place values, the 4 and the 1 and so on. So I'm not going to write them all down, but we have the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and millions. And you could continue to, pause the video if you want to try matching up the rest of these as we go. But I want to show you also one more example here. I want to show you a game that you could play with your parents, with some friends, with some classmates. You can play it with a minimum of 2 people, but you could play up to with 5 or 6 players as well. And I'll show you how that works on the next slide. But also I have some game board templates that are available at the end of the resource and game packet. So you can also just go there, or you could just use a whiteboard. So today's game is called Place Value 10 Questions, and it's based off the game 20 Questions that you may have played as a kid, where you have to ask yes or no only questions in order to guess maybe what an animal is, or whatever kind of thing you were trying to guess. Well, in this case, we're going to kind of adjust that to math. So if you look at all the stuff in the pinkish, that's going to be the players' game boards. And then if you look at the bluish, purplish color, that's going to be the player that is creating the mystery number, or the magic number that everyone else is going to try to get. So for this example, pretend that you as the player cannot see the number 3,872. That would be on the person who's going to answer the questions game board only. They make that number up and they just tell you how many place values there are. So because 3,872 has 4 place values, each player is going to make sure that they have 4 place values. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 to match. So if this number was like 23,872, that has 5 place values, so you just have to add another column in. So underneath each place value, number from 0 to 9, so all of the number digits. Okay. What you're going to do is the players are going to take turns asking the person who has the mystery number what exactly they're trying to figure out what that number is in 10 questions or less. So I'm going to first give an example of a poor question that would not really help you out at all. So if you said, is there an 8? And that was your question, the person that has the mystery number would obviously respond yes. But does that help you out at all? That question, because you don't know if should the 8 go in the tens, thousands, hundreds, ones? You don't know where to put it because your question wasn't very specific. So our job, remember, we only have 10 questions, so we have to make sure that we ask a very specific question. So I'm going to give you a couple of good examples of some questions you could ask. So one question could be, is the number in the tens column odd? So the player that has the mystery number would obviously respond yes. So each individual player would then cross out tens column odd, so we're going to get rid of the evens. So see how one question I've eliminated half of the numbers as opposed to just asking if there's a 3. Okay, I'm going to also, the person that has the mystery number is keeping track, so they're tallying this up. So that was your first question, which means you have 9 left to try to guess all the numbers. Okay, let me give you an example of another good question. So is the number in the ones column, so the number in the ones column, is that less than or equal to 3? Once again, mystery person would answer yes, it is less than 3. So in this case, now we can cross out all of these other numbers. So see how as we ask our questions, we're gradually narrowing down the possibilities for each place value. So a couple things about the game, you really have to know place value, both as you're asking the questions, but also if you're answering. Because what if you answered no to that question because you didn't know your place value? Well, then no one's ever going to answer your question or guess your mystery number because you didn't give them the correct answers based on place value. So you just keep going around, and if you are able to guess the number before your 10 questions, you would win. If you are unable to guess the mystery number in 10 questions, then you would obviously not win. So that's kind of a fun game that you can play. Like I said, you could just use whiteboards if you wanted, or even scratch paper. Otherwise, I do have some of the place value game templates and directions in the back of the math and resource book. Once again, ask if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments section. I'll be happy to answer those. Also, just stick around for our next lesson, which will be place value with decimals, and we'll see you in the next video.